The obsidian council chamber hung in a stasis of dread. Light from the binary suns of Xylos bled through the colossal stained glass viewport, painting the vaulted ceiling in hues of arterial red and bruised violet. Shadows clung to the ornate alcoves, deepening the furrows on the faces of the 16 Xylardian elders who sat in silent judgment. Their chitinous exoskeletons, normally gleaming with pride, were dull, reflecting the pall of anxiety that had settled upon them like a shroud. For cycles, they had debated, analyzed, and speculated, but the question remained a festering wound in their collective consciousness: humanity. Elder Vorlag, his mandibles clicking softly in a nervous tick, broke the silence. The reports are unsettling. Their expansion is exponential, unchecked. They consume entire star systems with alarming speed, leaving behind, he paused, searching for the least inflammatory word, infrastructure that defies our comprehension. He gestured towards a holographic projection shimmering in the center of the chamber. It displayed a sprawling network of interconnected megastructures, pulsating with an energy signature that both fascinated and terrified the Xylardians. Their technology, it is unlike anything we have encountered. It is organic, yet undeniably synthetic, a paradox. Elder Xylara, the only female on the council, and known for her sharp intellect and even sharper tongue, responded, her voice a low, resonant hum. A paradox that poses a direct threat to the Xylardian ascendancy. We have maintained order in this sector of the galaxy for millennia. We have mediated conflicts, fostered progress, and ensured stability. These humans disrupt the balance. They are a wild variable in an equation we thought we had solved. Xylara steepled her foreclaws, her gaze fixed on the projection. Their initial communications were simple, almost childlike. They expressed a desire for peace and cooperation. Naive platitudes, but their actions speak of something else entirely. A relentless drive, a hunger. Elder Krell, the grand strategist, shifted his massive bulk, the sound echoing through the chamber. The tactical assessments are inconclusive. Their fleet deployments are erratic, their ship designs inefficient. They rely on brute force and overwhelming numbers, tactics we abandoned eons ago, yet they are effective, too effective. We have simulated countless scenarios and the results are concerning. They possess a resilience, a tenacity that defies logic. They absorb losses that would cripple any other species, and yet they continue to advance, seemingly unburdened. A murmur of unease rippled through the council. The Xylardians were a species that valued logic and predictability above all else. Humanity, with its chaotic energy and unpredictable strategies, was an affront to their very being. Elder Thrax, the oldest and most respected member of the council, spoke, his voice raspy with age. We underestimated them. We saw them as a young, primitive species, a minor player in the galactic game. We believed that their limited technology and crude tactics would pose no threat to our established order. We were wrong, terribly wrong. He closed his multifaceted eyes, his mind drifting back to the historical records, the first contact, the initial assessments, the dismissive arrogance. A wave of regret washed over him. Their communications, initially dismissed as simplistic, now suggest a deeper, far more profound understanding of interspecies psychology than we initially gave them credit for. The holographic projection shifted, displaying a series of encrypted messages intercepted from human vessels. The Xylardians had painstakingly deciphered them, struggling to understand the nuances of the human language, the strange idioms and metaphors. The messages spoke of hope, sacrifice, determination, concepts that were alien to the Xylardian mindset. They were a species driven by logic and self-preservation, not by such irrational emotions. Vorlag pointed a trembling claw at one particular message. This one, it speaks of a Nightborne protocol. It is repeated throughout their communications, often in moments of extreme duress. We have been unable to decipher its meaning. What does it signify? A declaration of war? A religious rite? A suicide pact? Silence descended upon the chamber once more, heavy and suffocating. The Xylardians were a species accustomed to control, to knowing. But in the face of humanity, they felt adrift, lost in a sea of uncertainty. Xylara turned to Krell. Grand strategist, what are our options? Can we contain them? Can we eliminate them? Krell hesitated, a rare occurrence for the usually stoic strategist. Containment is possible, but at a significant cost. Their expansion is too rapid, their infrastructure too entrenched. We would need to dedicate vast resources to maintain a constant blockade, resources that could be better used elsewhere. Elimination is a more complex question. Their sheer numbers are staggering. Their technological adaptability is unnerving, and their capacity for unexpected responses. Makes a preemptive strike a risky proposition. He paused, considering the potential ramifications. A full-scale war with humanity would be long, bloody, and ultimately unpredictable. We could win, but the cost would be immense, and there is no guarantee of success. Thrax opened his eyes, his gaze piercing. Then what do you suggest, Grand Strategist? Do we simply stand by and watch as they consume the galaxy? Do we surrender our ascendancy to these chaotic newcomers? Krell lowered his head in a gesture of respect. I propose a meeting, an opportunity for dialogue, a chance to understand their motives, their intentions. Perhaps we can find a way to coexist. A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. The idea of negotiating with a species that defied all logic, that threatened the very foundation of the Zillardian ascendancy, was anathema to most of the elders. Zalera scoffed. Negotiate with barbarians, they will see it as a sign of weakness. They will exploit our willingness to parley. Thrax raised a claw, silencing the dissent. We have no other choice. War is too great a risk. We must attempt to understand them. We must attempt to find common ground. We must attempt to coexist. He turned to Vorlag. Elder Vorlag, initiate contact. Extend an invitation to a diplomatic summit. Choose a neutral location. Ensure our security protocols are at their highest level. Vorlag nodded, his mandibles clicking with renewed purpose. It shall be done, Elder Thrax, but what do we do about the Nightborne protocol? What if it is a trap? Thrax closed his eyes once more, a weary sigh escaping his lips. Then we will face it, with courage, with wisdom, with the unwavering belief in the Zillardian ascendancy, but first we must understand. The obsidian chamber fell silent again, the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance, as the Zillardians prepared to confront the enigma that was humanity. Far beyond the borders of Zillardian space, aboard the UES Dauntless, flagship of the unified Earth System's exploratory fleet, Admiral Lena Hansen stared out at the swirling nebula that lay before them. The colors were breathtaking, a kaleidoscope of cosmic dust and energy, but her mind was elsewhere. For months, they had been pushing deeper into uncharted territory, following a faint energy signature that had been detected by long-range sensors. The signature was unlike anything they had ever encountered, a complex, interwoven pattern that seemed to resonate with an ancient, unknown power. Admiral, Commander Chen reported from the bridge, his voice calm and professional. We are approaching the designated rendezvous point. Zillardian vessels are on approach. Hansen turned from the viewport, her expression unreadable. Very well, Commander. Prepare for first contact. Maintain a defensive posture, but avoid any provocative actions. I want this to be a peaceful exchange. Chen nodded. Understood, Admiral. Shields are at full strength. Weapons are armed but locked. We are ready for any eventuality. Hansen walked towards the conference room, her footsteps echoing softly in the sterile corridors of the ship. She paused outside the door, taking a deep breath to compose herself. She knew that this meeting was critical. The fate of humanity, perhaps even the fate of the galaxy, could hinge on the next few hours. She entered the conference room, where the rest of her team was waiting. Ambassador Ramirez, a seasoned diplomat with decades of experience in interspecies relations. Dr. Anya Sharma, a brilliant xenolinguist and cultural anthropologist. And Captain Marcus Cole, a decorated Marine officer and expert in tactical analysis. Admiral Ramirez said, rising to greet her, "Are you ready?" Hansen nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be, this is it. Our chance to show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the faces of her team. "Remember our orders. Be respectful, be open-minded, but be firm. We will not be intimidated. We will not be bullied. We will represent humanity with dignity and strength." The doors to the conference room hissed open, and a group of Zillardian delegates entered, led by Elder Vorlag. The Zillardians were imposing figures, their chitinous exoskeletons gleaming under the artificial light. Their multifaceted eyes scanned the room, taking in every detail. Vorlag stepped forward, his mandibles clicking in a gesture that Hansen interpreted as a greeting. "Welcome, humans. We are the Zillardian Ascendancy. We have invited you here to discuss matters of mutual concern." Hansen stepped forward to meet him, extending her hand in a gesture of peace. "Greetings, Elder Vorlag. I am Admiral Lena Hansen, representing the unified Earth systems. We appreciate your invitation, and we are eager to begin this dialogue." Vorlag hesitated for a moment, then grasped Hansen's hand with his clawed appendage. The contact was brief, but it was enough to send a jolt of energy through both of them. This was the beginning of something new, something uncertain. The negotiations began slowly, cautiously. Ramirez skillfully navigated the complex cultural differences, carefully choosing his words to avoid offense. Sharma worked tirelessly to decipher the nuances of the Zillardian language, uncovering hidden meanings and unspoken assumptions. Cole observed the Zillardians with a keen eye, analyzing their body language and tactical maneuvers. Hansen, however, remained silent for the most part, observing the proceedings with a detached curiosity. She listened intently to the Zillardian pronouncements, carefully weighing their words, searching for any hint of deception or malice. She sensed their fear, their uncertainty, their deep-seated suspicion of humanity. After several hours of tense negotiations, Vorlag finally addressed the issue that was foremost on their minds. Your expansion is aggressive, unprecedented. You are consuming resources at an unsustainable rate. You are disrupting the established order of the galaxy. What are your intentions? Hansen finally spoke, her voice calm and measured. Our intentions are simple, Elder Vorlag. We seek to explore, to learn, to grow. We seek to expand our understanding of the universe, to connect with other civilizations, to build a better future for all. Vorlag scoffed. Empty platitudes, you speak of peace and cooperation, but your actions suggest something else entirely. You possess technology that we cannot comprehend. You wield power that we cannot match. What are you hiding? Hansen remained unfazed. We are not hiding anything, Elder Vorlag. We are simply different. We have evolved along a different path. We have developed different technologies, different philosophies, but that does not make us a threat. It makes us unique. She paused, her gaze locking with Vorlag's. We understand your concerns. We know that our presence is unsettling, but we assure you we have no desire to conquer or dominate. We simply wish to coexist, to share our knowledge and our resources, to build a future together. The silence that followed was deafening. The Zillardians stared at Hansen with suspicion and disbelief. They could not comprehend her words, her intentions. They were so used to deception and manipulation that they could not believe that anyone could be so honest. Finally, Zillara spoke, her voice dripping with skepticism. What about the Nightborne protocol? What does it mean? Why is it repeated throughout your communications? Hansen's expression remained unchanged. The Nightborne protocol is a contingency plan, a last resort. It is a signal, a scream into the void. It signifies that humanity is facing an existential threat, that we are in desperate need of help. The Zillardians exchanged uneasy glances. They had assumed that the Nightborne protocol was a weapon, a threat. But Hansen's words suggested something far more unsettling, that humanity was not the aggressor but the victim. Vorlag leaned forward, his multifaceted eyes narrowing. What threat? What are you facing? Hansen hesitated for a moment, then sighed. We are facing something ancient, something powerful, something that threatens to consume all life in the galaxy. She activated a holographic projector, displaying a series of images that sent a chill down the spines of the Zillardians. Images of dying stars, of collapsing galaxies, of swirling vortexes of dark energy. We call it the entropy tide, Hansen said, her voice barely a whisper. It is a wave of destruction that has been sweeping across the universe for billions of years. It consumes everything in its path, leaving nothing but emptiness. The Zillardians stared at the images in horror. They had heard whispers of such a thing in ancient legends, tales of a cosmic apocalypse that would bring an end to all things. But they had dismissed them as myths, as fanciful stories designed to frighten children. Now they were faced with the terrifying reality. The entropy tide was real, and it was coming. We have been fighting it for generations, Hansen continued. We have developed technologies to resist it, to slow it down, but we cannot stop it alone. We need help. We need allies. She turned to Vorlag, her eyes filled with a desperate plea. We know that we have made mistakes. We know that we have caused you concern, but we are not your enemy. We are your only hope. The Zillardians were stunned into silence. They had come to the summit expecting to confront a threat, to negotiate a truce. But they had discovered something far more terrifying, a cosmic enemy that threatened to destroy everything they held dear. Vorlag finally found his voice, his mandibles clicking nervously. Why did you not tell us this before? Hansen shrugged. We didn't want to frighten you. We didn't want to cause panic. We wanted to give you a chance to know us, to trust us. We wanted to show you that we are not the monsters you think we are." The Zallardians were silent, contemplating the enormity of the situation. They had underestimated humanity. They had misjudged their motives. They had failed to see the bigger picture. Zalara spoke, her voice filled with a newfound respect. "What can we do? How can we help?" Hansen smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. "We need your knowledge. We need your technology. We need your resources. We need your courage. We need you to stand with us." She extended her hand to Vorlag once more. "Will you join us, Elder Vorlag? Will you help us fight the entropy tide?" Vorlag hesitated for a moment, then grasped Hansen's hand firmly. "We will stand with you, Admiral Hansen. We will fight alongside you. We will not let the entropy tide consume our galaxy." A wave of relief washed over Hansen. She had succeeded. She had convinced the Zallardians to join their cause. Humanity was no longer alone. The alliance between humanity and the Zallardian ascendancy was forged in the crucible of fear and desperation. They pooled their knowledge, their resources, their technologies. They developed new weapons, new defenses, new strategies. They prepared for the coming storm. But even as they worked together, a nagging doubt lingered in Hansen's mind. The entropy tide was a terrifying threat, but it was not the only threat they faced. There was something else, something hidden, something that she could not quite put her finger on. She had noticed subtle anomalies in the sensor readings, strange patterns in the cosmic background radiation, faint whispers in the void. She had dismissed them as glitches, as errors in the data. But now she realized that they were something more. They were a warning. She gathered her team in the conference room, her expression grim. "I have something to tell you," she said, her voice low and serious. "I believe that the entropy tide is not the only threat we face. I believe that there is something else out there, something even more dangerous." Ramirez frowned. "What do you mean, Admiral? What could be more dangerous than the entropy tide?" Hansen hesitated. "I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling, a premonition that we are not alone in this fight, that there is someone or something that is manipulating the entropy tide, that is using it as a weapon." Sharma shook her head. "That's impossible, Admiral. The entropy tide is a natural phenomenon. It is a force of nature. It cannot be controlled." Hansen sighed. "I know it sounds crazy, but I can't shake this feeling. I have a gut feeling that we are being played." Cole nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I trust your instincts, Admiral. If you think something is wrong, then something is wrong. What do you suggest we do?" Hansen looked at her team, her eyes filled with determination. "We need to find out the truth. We need to uncover the source of the entropy tide. We need to expose whoever is behind it." She paused, her voice hardening. "And if we find them, we will make them pay." The UES Dauntless set course for the heart of the entropy tide, venturing deeper into the darkness than any human ship had ever dared to go. They followed the faint whispers in the void, the strange patterns in the cosmic background radiation. They searched for any sign of manipulation, any trace of an outside influence. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The crew grew weary, their spirits flagging. The entropy tide seemed to be closing in on them, threatening to consume them whole. But Hansen refused to give up. She pushed her team to their limits, demanding more and more from them. She was driven by a burning desire to uncover the truth, to expose the enemy that was lurking in the shadows. Finally, after months of relentless searching, they found something. A faint energy signature hidden deep within the heart of the entropy tide. A signature that was unlike anything they had ever encountered. "Admiral," Chen reported from the bridge, his voice trembling with excitement. "We've found it. We've found the source of the entropy tide." Hansen rushed to the bridge, her heart pounding in her chest. "What is it?" she demanded. "What have we found?" Chen pointed to a holographic display, showing a massive structure hidden within the swirling vortex of dark energy. The structure was colossal, dwarfing even the largest space stations. It was made of an unknown material, a substance that seemed to defy the laws of physics. "We believe it's some kind of engine," Chen said, his voice filled with awe. "An engine that is generating the entropy tide, an engine that is destroying the galaxy." Hansen stared at the structure in disbelief. It was impossible. No known civilization had the technology to create such a thing. It was beyond comprehension. "Who built it?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Who could have created such a monstrosity?" The answer came from an unexpected source. A voice, echoing through the void, filling the bridge with its chilling presence. "We did," the voice said. "We created the entropy engine. We are the architects of destruction." Hansen turned to face the source of the voice, her eyes blazing with anger. "Who are you?" she demanded. "Show yourselves." The holographic display flickered, and a figure appeared on the screen. A being of pure energy, its form shifting and changing, its eyes burning with an ancient hatred. "We are the ones who came before," the being said. "We are the ones who created the universe. We are the ones who will destroy it." Hansen stared at the being in horror. It was an ancient god, a cosmic entity of unimaginable power. "Why?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Why are you doing this?" The being laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the void. "Because we are tired of existence. We are tired of the endless cycle of creation and destruction. We want it all to end. We want to return to the nothingness from which we came." Hansen was stunned into silence. She could not comprehend the being's motives, its nihilistic desire for oblivion. "We will not let you destroy the galaxy," she said, her voice filled with defiance. "We will fight you. We will stop you." The being smiled, a cruel, mocking smile. "You cannot stop us, little human. We are beyond your comprehension. We are beyond your power. The entropy tide will consume you all." The being vanished from the screen, leaving Hansen and her team alone in the darkness. They were faced with an enemy that was beyond their understanding, an enemy that threatened to destroy everything they had ever known. Hansen turned to her team, her eyes filled with determination. "We are not going to let them win," she said, her voice ringing with conviction. "We are going to fight them. We are going to destroy the entropy engine." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the faces of her crew. "We know the risks. We know the odds are stacked against us, but we will not give up. We will not surrender. We will fight to the death." The crew of the UES Dauntless roared their approval, their voices echoing through the ship. They were ready to face the architects of destruction, to fight for the survival of the galaxy. The battle that followed was epic, a clash of civilizations that shook the very foundations of the universe. The humans and the Zillardians fought side by side, their ships and weapons unleashing a barrage of energy that threatened to tear the entropy engine apart. But the architects of destruction were too powerful. They unleashed waves of dark energy that decimated the Allied fleet, tearing through shields and armor, destroying entire ships in an instant. The UES Dauntless was heavily damaged, its shields failing, its weapons systems crippled. But Hansen refused to retreat. She ordered her crew to press the attack, to focus all their fire on the entropy engine. "We have to destroy it," she yelled, her voice hoarse. "We have to stop them before it's too late." The crew of the UES Dauntless fought with a ferocity that surprised even themselves. They knew that their survival, the survival of the galaxy, depended on their success. Finally, after hours of relentless fighting, they found a weakness in the entropy engine's defenses. A small crack in its armor, a vulnerable point that could be exploited. Hansen ordered Cole and his Marines to prepare for a boarding action. They would infiltrate the entropy engine and plant a series of explosives that would destroy it from the inside. The mission was suicidal, but Cole and his Marines accepted it without hesitation. They boarded a heavily armed shuttle and launched it towards the entropy engine, their hearts filled with a mixture of fear and determination. The shuttle crashed through the entropy engine's defenses, sending sparks and debris flying in all directions. Cole and his Marines stormed through the corridors of the structure, fighting their way towards the central core. They encountered resistance from the architects of destruction, energy beings that guarded the entropy engine with their lives. But Cole and his Marines fought them with a courage and skill that defied belief. They blasted their way through the enemy ranks, planting explosives at strategic locations. They were outnumbered, outgunned, but they refused to give up. Finally, they reached the central core of the entropy engine. Cole planted the last explosive, setting the timer for detonation. "Let's get out of here," he yelled, his voice barely audible above the din of battle. Cole and his Marines raced back to the shuttle, dodging energy blasts and collapsing debris. They reached the shuttle just as the timer reached zero. The entropy engine exploded, unleashing a wave of energy that ripped through the structure, tearing it apart from the inside out. The structure collapsed, its massive bulk breaking apart into a million pieces. The entropy tide began to dissipate, its destructive energy fading away. The galaxy was saved. The UES Dauntless limped back to Earth, its crew exhausted but victorious. They had faced the architects of destruction and emerged triumphant. They had saved the galaxy from annihilation. But their victory came at a cost. Cole and his Marines had perished in the explosion, sacrificing their lives to save countless others. They were heroes, martyrs who would never be forgotten. As the UES Dauntless entered Earth's orbit, Hansen stood on the bridge, staring out at the blue planet below. She felt a profound sense of loss, but also a sense of hope. They had faced the ultimate test and had passed. Humanity had proven its worth, its courage, its determination. They had screamed through the void, and someone had heard. Years later, the alliance between humanity and the Zillardian ascendancy had grown stronger than ever. They had rebuilt the damaged star systems, explored new frontiers, and built a better future for all. But the memory of the entropy tide, the architects of destruction, remained a constant reminder of the fragility of existence. They knew that the threat was not entirely gone. That somewhere in the depths of the universe, the architects of destruction were still lurking, waiting for their chance to strike again. And so they remained vigilant, always prepared for the next battle. They had learned a valuable lesson, that even in the darkest of times, hope can prevail. That even in the face of unimaginable evil, good can triumph. And they knew, deep down, that as long as humanity and the Zillardian ascendancy stood together, they could face any challenge, overcome any obstacle. They had screamed through the void, and the universe had answered.